In order to reach some kind of understanding with the people during the crisis, the regime tried to somehow support the people and create various democratic institutions, laws, for example, administrative courts, that is a very important institution. But they were all created with certain nuances. The ombudsman cannot work if the code of procedures for his work or the constitutional court is not adopted.
And it turned out that the government seemed to make concessions, but in reality it only made the appearance of democracy. Such tricks were the last straw for the Poles. In June 1956, people went out to protest in Poznan. The demonstration was initiated by local workers, who were dissatisfied with their salaries and working conditions. About 100,000 people took to the streets demanding to improve their situation. And the protests spread with such force that the march grew into protests against the communist regime. To disperse the demonstration, the authorities sent units of the UB, the army and law enforcement officers, as well as several dozen armored personnel carriers and almost 400 tanks. The military immediately opened fire. More than 500,000 demonstrators were injured, 50 were killed. Media and politicians first called all the clashes provocations, then dropped them. In the 1970s, a man named Karol Józef Wojtyła appeared in Polish history. In 1978, he would become Pope John Paul II. His support for his homeland and his fight against communism would give Poles hope for a new life. He would become the first pope to meet with the Kremlin's supreme commander, Mikhail Gorbachev at the time. And as you know, communists and the church are incompatible concepts. John Paul II supported Poland, made speeches to the people and often said not to forget who they are. Faith in God, according to him, was supposed to help survive the challenges that the communist regime poses to citizens and believers.
Millions of Poles listened to his speeches. We listened to the Pope's words with tears in our eyes. He treated us seriously. He often told us that we should do this and that. We should not be afraid. We are Catholics, decent, young people. The future belongs to us.
Only after a year in office did the Pope make his first official visit to Poland in 1979. His speech was largely about life under communism. The impact on the Poles, a Catholic country, was so strong that as a result his arrival became a symbol of the beginning of a revolution, long, drawn out and variable, but it did begin. This time the armed uprising and underground activities were transferred to the diplomatic plane. And its beginning became the end of communism in Poland.
The first secretary of the Communist Party, Leonid Brezhnev, before the Pope's visit to Poland, said the following to the Polish secretary of the Communist Party: "We know that the Pope is a wise man. Tell him to announce that he is ill. It would be better for him not to visit Poland." They tried to stop him, but they failed.
Already in 1980, a trade union called Solidarity appeared in Poland. Its leader was Lech Wałęsa. In general, the appearance of Solidarity on the political arena of Poland was also a reaction to the economic crisis in the country. People liked the idea of a trade union and their struggle for a democratic world and freedom of choice, and given that the movement was supported by the opposition and dissidents, and even the Catholic Church, Solidarity grew into a socio-political movement with the support of 10 million people. Every third Pole was in this movement. The only problem was that some wanted the overthrow of the regime, while others wanted communism, but with a new, more loyal face.
If you never grew up in communism, you won't understand its essence and you won't understand why we tried to get out of it. I was lucky to grow up in a family that was good at knowing who the communists were. Accordingly, we knew that there was another free world.
The UB and Kremlin's special services noticed the extensive focus on Solidarity. Recognizing its potential as a political rival to communism, Moscow planned to impose martial law, reform legislation, and ban Solidarity, which they subsequently did. In 1981, martial law; in 1982, a complete ban. Representatives of the movement had to hide; they went underground. Leaders were arrested, including Lech Wałęsa. While the rest of the representatives were engaged in underground self-publishing, the Catholic Church remained the only instrument that freely and openly spoke about the crimes of communism against representatives of Solidarity, and the communists could not destroy the Church in such a religious country as Poland. Then it would mean a complete break with the Vatican and with the civilized world too. More and more people learned about the atrocities committed against Solidarity members, and the country was once again gripped by protests. This time in 1987. The demands were the legalization of solidarity. Having felt a breath of fresh air, people no longer wanted to live under communism, to put up with all its atrocities. And in Moscow they understood that if they did not make concessions to the people, the regime would not last long. They decided to legalize solidarity, but to win him over to their side. In turn, solidarity understood that it was better to play along, and then make the final push towards freedom. Having agreed to all the conditions of 1989, the so-called Round Table began.
The Round Table was an event where communists and representatives of the opposition, that is representatives of Solidarity and the intelligentsia, gathered in one room for discussion. They discussed the changes needed for Poland. The main topic was not about moving away from socialism, but about trying to improve it as a system.
In June 1989, democratic elections were held. The communists finally lost their positions. It was useless to rig the vote results. Public pressure simply did not allow this to be done. Newspapers, radio, and television all spoke with one voice, unequivocally and with a smile on their faces, about the beginning of a new life for Poland.
Ladies and gentlemen, on June 4, 1989, communism in Poland fell.
As for the Secret Service, it was disbanded and completely reorganized. Those who failed to flee the country went to prison. A wave of lustration and decommunization swept through the country. Large-scale reforms began. Poland rapidly began to converge with European countries. Meanwhile, the Soviet Union collapsed, turning into Russia, a talented successor in matters of terror, but useless in matters of development, both of the state and of its society.